All
Right.
right, so let's talk about when shit got real. When shit got real. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, so you guys know who Maddie Howard is, right? She's kicking some serious ass. She's a nurse of the goddamn week, but she went to Southern Utah University. She was a gymnast there. She competed collegiately. So I think that is absolutely amazing because um, when I did my research looking you up from the Southern Utah University, it took in everything that I saw, it only spoke about you when you did vault and then your floor exercises. Am I correct or am I confused?
No, you're correct. When I got to college, I actually specialized in floor and vault. And so
Okay,
I
go ahead.
competed bars at like one meet, but that was it.
So okay, so let's start there before we get into the nitty gritty of your career at Southern Utah University. Before we talk about that, I want you to explain to me and the rest of the people because I am as ignorant as ever. Who like do you get to pick the events you get to do? Like, is there a bare minimum that you get to do? Are you allowed to do every single event? Like, how does that work? Who makes those decisions?
So our head coach usually makes those decisions, and they'll recruit people based on what they need. And so some people they recruit based on an all around, like they want them to compete all of the events. And then some people they recruit them just for their vault or just for their bars. And so it totally just depends like how big of team you have and what their needs are. And so I like my freshman year, I was just a lot stronger on the floor and the vault. And so that's what they wanted me to focus more on.
Okay, so were you recruited? Did you go to Utah for that Southern Utah for that specific reason?
Yes, and I actually went to Southern Utah. I was looking at a few other schools in Utah, but Southern Utah was the only one that even thought of the idea of letting me do nursing school and gymnastics at the same time. So I think that's ultimately why I chose to go there.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. And
So wait,
I went to a gymnastics camp there too, and I just fell in love with like the coaches and like the small campus, and so that was another big reason.
so first of all, it makes me happy that you knew you wanted to do nursing going into college because a lot of people are like, I don't know what I want and let me think about nursing, and then it's like, hit in the face because nursing is not something you want to play around with. So I understand schools not wanting for students to do both gymnastics and nursing because nursing is a very difficult major. But at the same time, there were other schools that just didn't want you to do nursing, or was it like,
Yeah, so I went to a few different schools and they wouldn't even look at the idea just because both programs were so competitive and they weren't willing to work with you.
oh wow. Wow, good for
So,
you. I'm so happy. So I'm very well done. Shout out to Southern Utah. Good for y'all. You guys made a superstar. You guys made a superstar. All right. So you said that you were once you got into college, they liked your floor and vault. I have to ask, Maddie, were they your favorites? Is that what you also wanted, or did they just tell you specifically you need to focus on these two because that's what we need? Like, did you like anything else and want to do anything else?
yes, I loved bars. Bars has always kind of been my favorite growing up. And so I still would practice bars, but I just wasn't at the level to compete. I just was a lot better at floor and vault. And so that was a lot easier to get into like the lineups and stuff. But I will say that beam has always been my least favorite. And so I was not even mad when I stopped doing beam in college. I was like, it was such a relief.
So beam is like it's that long bar, right? It's the single long bar that you have to walk on and all of that stuff, right? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I know nothing about gymnastics, but I do know that the beam is the beam, right? It's the long one. It's the long one. I promise I'm not trying to insult the entire gymnast world. But do you really think that these judges are fair? Because as an outsider, objectively speaking, when you watch gymnasts do their thing, it is so difficult to tell them apart, right? Especially when people are giving you scores like 8.7, 9.1. I'm like, what is the difference? Like, what
Yeah.
is like it doesn't from unless you fall down or trip or actually fall off the beam or something, that's when it's actually noticeable. But outside of that, like, is it really that intense and like the scores get that close? Do you think that that's like legit the way these judges judge you guys?
That's a good question. It can be hard to tell sometimes, and I think a lot of times, like if your routine gets a lower score than you thought, then obviously you think you get gypped. But I think when you watch gymnastics a lot and you know the mechanics of it, there's a lot of little things like a pointed toe. That's a half tenth there off your point. Like if you don't point your toes, or
Oh
if
wow.
your legs come apart a little bit. And so there's a lot of little technical things that they'll take off for that somebody without a trained eye won't even notice.
Yeah, no, and I think that's where it matters the most, because I know that I enjoy watching boxing, and a lot of people tell me when the boxing judges say, "Oh, that was an 8. That round was an 8. That round was a 7." I'm like, "Of course it was an 8. Of course it was a 7." But for other people, they were just punching each other in the face. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So like,
Right,
yeah,
yeah, that's exactly what I think about boxing. So I don't know how they come up with that stuff.
right? So yeah, so while you were at university, Southern Utah, did you guys ever compete against UCLA? Because everyone in the world. So I'm looking. So I googled things to ask Maddie Howard, right? And every time I
Okay.
type in gymnastics, UCLA pops up. First of all, are they as good as the internet makes them out to be? And did you guys ever compete against them?
So that's a good question. I have such a hard time remembering because I know that the year before I came in, they competed against UCLA, and UCLA actually came to SUU, and SUU beat them. And so it was like
Stop
this
it.
huge deal. Yeah. It was like this huge deal, but I wasn't on the team at that point. And so I actually can't remember ever competing against UCLA when I was there. But I do think that they're a really good team.
They are a really good team, because I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, I don't know anything about gymnastics, but when I was trying to prep for this, I was looking things up, and UCLA popped up everywhere, just like it really did. And then so let's talk about the floor, because I have to say I love the floor event, and I love the floor event specifically because I am a music nut. Like I love music, and the floor. So music. That's the only event that you could have music to, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So first, tell me, how does the music selection go? Because I have a friend that does figure skating, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, like you want to dance to like hip hop, you want to do like the song that you love, but the judges like classical. The judges like, is it the same thing in gymnastics, or you really can't do play whatever music you like?"
I think that you can. It's more open. You can play whatever music you like. We usually would all summer. We would all listen to like different music selections, and I actually had a teammate that was really good at like cutting and pasting different songs, and so she could make us our music exactly how we wanted it.
Hey.
And so we kind of just listened for what we like, what we thought we could dance to, and I think the judges are pretty lenient and they just go with whatever.
And they focus more on the actual, like the tumbling and all the flips and stuff, and not the music. Like the music is cool if you can just keep beat.
Right. As long as you can dance to it and you make it flow and look good, that's all they care about.
And because I also am a big dancer, so I love, like, the floor is my absolute favorite thing in all of the world. Like I think it's fantastic. I think it's fucking fantastic.